Hey everybody, and welcome to the Premodern Showdown Series 3, Episode 1. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined today by Flint Aspel. Say hi, Flint.
Hi, everybody.
And we finally get to start our longly anticipated Premodern Showdown Series 3. I'm very excited. How are you feeling tonight?
Hell yeah.
And you can see the schedule. Tonight we're starting things off with Ron Taylor against Tom Metelsky. And then our late night match is Aaron Dix up against Jared Doucette. So we can. I'll go very briefly over like the format of something. We did do a pregame show last week, but maybe there's new people who haven't seen it. But very briefly, the Premodern Showdown series, we have 8 players. They all have brought 3 different decks. So each week they're going to play a new opponent. Their opponent is going to ban a deck, so they cannot bring that deck. So they have a choice between 2 decks that they can bring, and also they get to ban one of their opponent's decks. They bring one of those decks, and then they play a match. So after 7 weeks, they've played everybody. We're going to take the top 4 and then do a single elimination to crown the champion. Our playoff has a little bit slightly different format, but we'll go there when we get closer. Let's go over to the ban screen of our first match. So this is the match between Ron and Tom. So the 3 decks that Ron had brought to the tournament is Suicide Black, Replenish combo, and then Prison Oath. And Tom Metelsky has Goblins, Psychatog, and Devourer combo. And Tom has elected to ban the Prison Oath deck from Ron, so he cannot be bringing that. And then Ron has banned the Devourer combo from Tom. So there any input you have, Flint, on what was banned, or do you have a guess of what they did bring here?
I mean, I think from Ron's perspective, it makes sense to ban the Devourer Oath. I think it's just too fast. I mean, granted, Replenish can be fast, but Devourer Oath is a deck that I think it's harder for Ron to interact with. And then on the flip side, I think Tom's feeling if I ban the Oath deck, I think that my other 2 decks fare, you know, uh, pretty well against the other 2 decks. But that's just that at a glance. I didn't know what the bans were prior just a few minutes ago.
All right, well, let's go over and figure out what decks they're playing. So we have Ron up first, and he has chosen to play the Suicide Black deck. So this is a
Nice.
fast aggro deck with a lot of black creatures. So we've seen some variations from list to list on these. We've seen some without any 1 drops and played a little bit more powerful cards and Hypnotic Specters, and then more Mesmeric Fiends and a little bit more ways to disrupt. Ron has kind of both the 1 drops, but then also has cards like Negator and Drinker of Sorrow is a card that I know that he's very fond of. So I guess I'm trying to think what card he's omitted from his list that's present in a lot of the others. But uh, the Suicide Black deck is just a very streamlined, aggressive, put creatures on the board, maybe disrupt your opponent a tiny bit, but really just look to attack the life total of your opponent. The deck that Tom has decided is Psychatog. So the Dr. Teeth will make his debut in the hands of Tom, and this list is, I guess, the one notable standout is the copies of Portent, which I haven't seen in most Psychatog lists. So it'll be interesting to look to see how that card performs, I guess, specifically. But I guess one thing I do want to note is uh, all of Tom's counterspells cost at least 2 mana or more. I guess you can count Circular Logic as one once Psychatog's in play. And Duress is not a card that's at its best in this matchup. And then like there's 2 Vendettas, which are not very good. There's 1 Smother, but there's, I guess just looking at this on paper, I feel like Tom might have his back against the wall, given that Tom's threats line up pretty well, that they're cheap and hard for Tom to remove. So is there any anticipation you have? I'll jump over to this, what I predicted as the key cards for this matchup.
Go ahead and jump over.
Okay. So a lot of times whenever we have the Suicide Black deck up, Dark Ritual is just a really important piece. Just being able to deploy your threats quicker than your opponent or get a board presence before your opponent has really developed. Or if you have two threats and your opponent answers one, and then you're able to attack with the remaining creature and then add to the board, you're just always having that pressure while your opponent has to answer multiple threats. So Dark Ritual is what I chose, and then Sarcomancy, I guess, is board just. I could have put like any of the cards here. I feel like for the black deck, but I think you just want early pressure. You just want to have a nice curve, if especially to go with the Dark Ritual. But even if you don't, if you just go into Sarcomancy into a 2-drop into a 1-drop into 2-drop, then I think the black deck is looking pretty good because Tom's only going to be able to counter one spell a turn in the first few turns, if at all, and then the board presence will build up and it'll be difficult for the Tog deck to come back. So the Psychatog deck, I think the most key card it would need is, I kind of talk about these in succession or in together. I think Psychatog and Gush, because I think the plan for Psychatog in this matchup is Tom needs to be pretty aggressive, that he can't give Ron a lot of time. I think he's going to want to really just try and play a Psychatog, get an opportunity to get in there, and a card with like Gush can really beef up a Psychatog really quickly. And so I think that's Tom's easiest route to victory, is just to try and get a quick one with Psychatog, because I think he might have some trouble answering the threats of Ron. So do you want to add anything before we jump down to the match?
Michael, I got nothing.
All right. Well, I know you're excited, as everyone else seems
yeah.
to be, so let's just get to it and start us off. So you can let the players know I am not on the right screen. I want to go to this one. All right. So we have Ron that's on the play, which also is something that is very, very good for the black deck, is just being on the play. But we do see at the turn 1 Dark Ritual, and then a Carnophage and Nantuko Shade. So
seems good.
Seems like a pretty scripted start for the mono black. Yes, we do have a sponsor. As you'll see, it should come up on our screen. Is Cardsphere has sponsored us this season, so we want to thank them, and I'll talk about them. Yeah, I'll talk about them a little bit later tonight. But okay, let's bring up some of these cards. So if Tom is cracking right away, I think that might mean that he's going to be playing Important.
Yeah.
Because most of Tom's cards are reactive cards, but Important is the one where he kind of has to spend mana on his turn. And I don't know if, I feel like it's unlikely that Tom will be portenting his Ron at the spot, but we might have some very interesting situations where doing some Portents on camera. I know I've had some experience with those, and it's always fun to try and do it. Because technically, your opponent shouldn't see the cards if you're looking at them, and doing that over the webcam is a little bit difficult.
A little bit. Looks like a shuffle here.
All right.
Good news for Ron.
Ron is one sexy beast, says Gerard.
Sexy beast Ron.
Yeah. You get not only get to cheer from him, but you get to see him right now. I guess until he plays more creatures and then covers up his face on the playmat. But
takes the point there from the Carnophage. I think he'd like to keep it untapped this turn.
Yes, I guess I should be updating life totals.
19 all.
Yeah, I don't think that Carnophage is going to get tapped very much this game, except for when it attacks, I guess. All right, so he's using 1 mana to pump the Nantuko Shade, so that will be an attack for 5.
Yep.
All right, and then he adds another Carnophage to the board. So, I mean, this is kind of the difficulty I think that Tom has is he doesn't have Dazes or Force Spikes, and there's not a really clean way for the blue-black deck to sweep the board. And so, like, Psychatog is his really only way to, I think, prevent Ron from attacking.
And we are getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but, just looking at Tom's sideboard, he's not running, something like an Infest or some kind of a board wipe. He's running Engineered Plague, but I believe Ron's got a fair amount of diversity in his creature types too. So I don't know if Tom's chances improve that much.
He does have a Neville's disc. That was one of the cards we talked about in
He
the
does. He does have a disc.
the pregame that we weren't sure when it was coming in. I have to anticipate that this is a matchup where you want the disc. All right, we see an attack with all three creatures, and again a one pump from the shade. So that will be attack for 7.
Yep. So Tom's down to 7.
So that's half his life total. So this so far things have been going, I think, how Ron wanted them, and kind of how I talked it up in the pregame.
So there's a Scourge, but it gets leaked because Tom finally has the 2 mana here, being on the back foot this game.
It like pretty much needs to be Psychatog here, right? And it's not. So that will be a quick game to the Suicide Black deck. So let's jump back over to the decks. We can talk about sideboarding a little bit. We have Ron's deck up first. So the sideboard are 2 Dystopia, 4 Withered Wretch, 4 Engineered Plague, and 3 Duress. So the Withered Wretch is, well, like the graveyard it's just a resource for the Psychatog, and especially because I think Tom is going to kind of have to race. The 2/2 body is reasonable for the black deck, and then it has, if you ever have mana that you want to use, you can just kind of reduce the effectiveness of the Psychatog. And then Duress is the other card that I'm looking at. I don't think it's a card that you necessarily need. I'll have to check to see the sideboard of Tom, but given that there aren't that many like reactive or like powerful spells out of Tom, the Duress doesn't take care of something like a Psychatog, and so you might just want to be more proactive. I can see Ron foregoing the Duresses. Are there any cards in the main deck that you're not impressed with? So is Karavak Spites, do you have to discard your hand upon casting it?
Yes, it's part of the cost of the spell.
Right. That seems like one that you take out if there's a bunch of counter spells. Then, so
yeah, and I do agree with you regarding the Duresses. I think if you're Ron, they're probably better in game 2 than if there's a game 3. I think if he's on the play, he just wants all gas. But I still don't think it's worth bringing them in. Maybe he just wants a lower curve, so he boards out the Drinkers of Sorrow. I don't know. I mean, does Tom have any spot removal for black creatures? I don't think he
there's
does,
a Smother. I don't know. I would say like of all matchups, the Drinker of Sorrow seems great in this matchup. Like because like if you resolve it, it's pretty much just like it's not going to get bolted or anything. It's just going to stay in there, and you're just taking a chunk down. So let's look at the sideboard out of Tom. And so there's 3 Annuls, 1 Diabolic Edict, 3 Hydroblast, a Snap, 3 Engineered Plagues, a Perish, 2 Torment's Crypt, and a Disc. I like the Edict, I like the Snap, and I like the Disc.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the Disc is like the only high impact card I would say out of those. The other ones are reasonable, but not really that exciting. I take out Vendettas before Duress. I guess it hits Mishra's Factory.
Yeah.
But losing life isn't great either. I think Duress is better than Vendetta.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but
oh, you might be right.
And then
I feel like it misses a lot, but Vendetta just is a dead card in so many situations.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to cast it.
Yeah, I mean, at least like looking at your opponent's hand like might give you a little bit of information. But I mean, there's I guess your turn 1 Dark Ritual, you might be able to take a Dark Ritual, but there's like Curse Scrolls and Sinister Strengths. But I'm trying to think of the other non-creature spells. But yeah, Duress is not at its best in this matchup either. But... Okay, so it looks like the players are just finishing sideboard. They're shuffling up, so let's jump back down the match so we can catch all the action for the second game. I will update our life totals. I don't know if you can hear my dog in the background, but
I can, and her sweet bark.
Yes. Which player do you think she's cheering for?
She's probably cheering for Ron because dogs hate going to the doctor. And so she's probably not a fan of Dr. Teeth.
Also, like in for a dog, like a smile, what we consider a smile is like a growl or an active offense to an animal usually. So Dr. Teeth is pretty aggressive, and a dog would not like Dr. Teeth, I think.
It's true.
Cheering
It's
for the
true.
underdog. There we go. Bork, bork,
Oh, no
indeed.
poll
Yes.
tonight. We
Oh,
we didn't do a poll. We'll do it for the next match.
yeah.
All right.
I
So
need what I need to do is figure out how to do that with the channel points, so people can bet their channel points,
oh
um,
yeah.
and then do the poll that way.
All right. So it looks like Ron took a mulligan. And important on Tom.
So I have a question. Let's say you're Tom, and you're dead on board, like you're gonna die. You have a port in your hand. Do you port in Ron just for fun, just to like make him like go through the motions?
I think it depends on how the game went.
Yeah.
Like if I'm feeling particularly like spiteful because I've just been crushed at every turn, I might be like, all right, this is a small victory for me, and it'll be fun for the viewers. Um, but it
So
still would be interesting to see regardless, because I don't think we've ever seen it on the PSS.
I have an open proposition to anyone who plays me. I gave you permission, especially if I'm recording the match. If you port in me to like think about it for a long time, like make me reorder the cards and then just tell me to shuffle my library.
That's awesome. We do see Ron a bit of a slow start, right? So no one drop, no ritual. He tries to cast a turn two shade, and Tom cracks his fetch land, goes to 19, and counters it.
Yep, with actual counter spell. So, all right, like he's gonna try this again.
Hmm.
Run the land he just played is Cabal Pit. One that's probably not going to be super effective, but it'd be interesting because I guess I haven't seen that in like the super aggressive black decks. I wonder how often you get to threshold or that comes up that you're able to activate the ability of it.
So there's the Carnophage. He takes another point, goes to, or he takes a point. Ron takes his first and goes to 19.
Yeah, circular logic was the counter spell for Tom.
Yeah. Really just trying to slow Ron down as much as possible and get into the mid game where he can really do his damage.
Yeah, I think you pretty much want to use like counter spells on any of the creatures you can, because it's not like there is a card. It's not like Ron's playing Smothers or Diabolic Edicts that he'd be able to answer a Psychatog, so you don't really have to worry about like protecting your Tog. You just want to keep your life total as high as you can.
All right, so Ron goes to 18 from his Carnophage. Takes Tom. Tom should be. Oh yeah, okay, he caught it. Yep, he's at 18. Very good.
But, okay, well Tom should be at 17, right? Because he fetched and he just took two.
He should be at 17.
I'm not familiar with De Morgan's Law. Do you know what that is, Flint?
Um, nope, I don't know Dave Morgan's
Where does Phage go to party?
law. Oh goodness, I don't, I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm waited on my heel or on my toes for what the answer is.
Looks like a mana leak there on Negator.
Yes.
The Cabal Pit.
Uh,
All right.
so Phyrexian Negator is one of like the big heavy hitting threats from Ron, and as long as there's no Psychatog in play, he's just gonna chunk over 5 a turn. So good for Tom for him to get that keep that out of play.
It's the Cabal Mosh Pit, apparently.
Uh, I think I'm behind on my life total. Uh, Ron's at 17. Was there not an attack that turned that, or did Tom just not life? he must have attacked, right? With the
Did
Carnifex
Tom's?
to turn that he played the negator. Oh,
I think Tom's screen froze.
okay. Well,
That's not Tom Metelsky. Oh,
Okay, I'm muting Michael and Flint again.
all right.
all right.
So we got to mute Tom
Which all these
and
people are.
Ron.
Okay. So we
All
have
right, they are muted.
16 to 17. How would Tommy at 16? Did he never take that point of life from the Pluto Delta?
He did. He changed it. He's at 15 because he went to 17
Okay, so it's
and then
Ron
he
at
got
16.
hit again.
Okay.
Yeah.
The red dice.
Ron's at 16.
Okay. And more Carnophage. Well, Ron's been doing a good job of keeping the board with a few creatures, so this is kind of a spot where it's just like, yeah, you might be able to answer every threat from here on out, but you're still taking 2 to 4 every turn.
Mhm. So why did Urza take his car to the automobile shop?
I don't know.
I got nothing on this one too. Comical flop. And it's my dog's turn to bark, so I'm gonna mute myself for a second.
Yeah, so the 2 life is paid for the Carnophages. Ron's pretty okay with that, so he'll be able to attack in for 4 at least. I guess Sinister Strength could be a card that could change that, but looks like 4 is coming in. So Tom goes to 11. So right now there's 3 turns that Tom has if nothing changes on the board. Then we see a Duress with 1 card in hand from Ron. So
he does bring it in.
there is an intuition. Okay, so is this getting 3 accumulated knowledges and then casting accumulated knowledge? That would be my intuition, but
Your intuition was correct. Got a dog. Chain reaction of barking. Looks like.
yeah. My dog barks so loud that your dogs heard it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. So I didn't read the chat. That though we started watching The Wire, and I did not realize how often dogs bark in that show, because my dog did not enjoy whenever there's just dogs barking in the background of that show. We're just all lying on the couch, and her ears perk up, and she feels a little protective when she hears those.
So it was accumulated knowledge, and once Ron sees that the coast is clear, he goes ahead and he plays a Skittering Scourge.
And Skittering Scourge is a good threat from Ron, because without a wonder from Tom, even like the Psychatog will not be able to block it. Which we do see. So we do have Dr. Teeth in the house. And so there's a lot of cards in the graveyard. So, and also Ron like deals a decent amount of damage to himself. So like 14 is not like a very difficult number for a lot of Psychatog decks to hit. So Ron's got to think about blocking, I think, pretty often. So I guess maybe there are situations where like one of these Carnophages get tapped because he doesn't want to just run it into the Psychatog, and the other one is just there for jump duty. But it looks like 2 life, 8, and they're both going to stay. So if you attack with everything here, the Scourge probably dies, and then you take 4 down to 7. Yeah, okay. Oh, not the Scourge dies. One of the Carnophages would die. I'm thinking that Wonder's in the graveyard. But yeah, just the Scourge comes over with flying, so Tom, well, I guess he hasn't taken the damage yet. Oh, now he has.
There it is.
Well, Puglas, it looks like it could have cheered a little earlier, because Tom kind of has his back up against the rope. I guess he definitely could come out of this game for sure. Like this,
Yeah.
This is a point where the Tog deck could do a lot. One thing that he did use, I don't know how many copies of Intuition are in his deck, but there are certain spots where you need to get Wonder with the Intuition, and
Yep.
that could be a way for the Psychatog deck to just kind of fly over.
There looks like 12 cards in his graveyard right now. Ron's life total is not super high.
No, I think this is a pretty easy lethal if the Psychatog goes unblocked.
Yeah. You pull it off right here.
We got some cheers from NVG Banding. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
I guess I forgot to mention the curse scroll that was added, so it's kind of another evasive threat that is present. And Ron, I don't think, has any cards in hand. So Tom's turn, he untaps, attacks with the Tog, and Ron happily blocks with the Carnophage.
Doesn't even think twice. He's just like, block.
Yeah, well, that's what he was meant to do. So
Oh yeah.
I guess I think he paid 2 life in to play around like a removal spell. So Tom had to discard a card. I think he discarded an island to keep the Tog around.
Attila the Fun, Shadow Rift is not in the Tog list.
So Tom is not playing any copies of Cunning Wish. I think in most of the Cunning Wish lists, I think you're more likely to see like a Shadow Rift in the sideboard, but Tom does not have that package. Alright, so the Skittering Scourge again came over for 3. We do see a Smother for this Carnophage.
Pretty good.
So this is likely
He's
just
probably hitting the
lethal.
Scourge, right? Or
No, he's hitting the Carnophage.
what's he targeting? He's at the
Carnophage. This is
Okay.
the end of turn. He's killing the blocker, and then he'll be able to kill with the
Okay.
Psychatog. So doesn't look like a Shadow Rift is needed. Yeah, I guess the only card I can think of that Ron could really do something in this spot is Karavek Spite. And I don't think that's a card that he'd have in after board. Yep. And so yeah, that was pretty, that was cool. I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't think Ron could really do anything differently because we did see him like take the cautious line of paying 2 life with the Carnophages to play around like 1 Smother. But then without a creature, he either is not attacking, and then, or he's got to just say, "Hope you don't have." I think it is just like 1 Smother. So
Yeah. Certainly, it seemed like Tom had his back against the ropes there, but at the same time, really, if this game's not over in the first 4 or 5 turns, then Tom's chances go way up, right? It'll be interesting to see how this third game goes with Ron on the play.
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. Like I don't know what cards Ron is taking out, but like the dresses just don't seem necessary to me. Like there's not that many removal spells, and like the counter spells, like just seems like it'd be better to have a threat most of the time. So it is, I think, just 1 intuition. Sometimes I know MTG Goldfish puts them in different spots, so I think there's a 1 of intuition, a 1 of recoil, and then the 1 of wonder.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. Yeah, I think on the play here, Ron really needs to take the duresses out. He just wants action.
Yeah, or I mean, the type of hand he needs is like pretty much any hand with Dark Ritual. I think gives him a pretty good edge. Like if you're able to put out a 3-drop on turn 1, or if you're able to put a 2-drop and a 1-drop, like all the threats are pretty interchangeable. So unless your hand is really looking good, I might consider shipping back a mediocre hand for trying to look for a Dark Ritual.
So it looks like Ron is keeping and Tom is thinking.
Okay. So who do you like in this game 3? Well, especially now that Tom's mulliganing.
I mean, Ron's chances definitely go up. And on the play, I do think he's favored as long as he has a fairly aggressive hand. It's just, how aggressive, like how wide can he go? How much pressure can he add to the board?
Yeah, I think kind of the onus is like put on Tom of like you kind of have to. I mean, Ron's obviously presenting the threats, and Tom has to answer them. So, I I like Ron's position being on the. I like the. I think in the deck matchup, I think Ron has a slight advantage. Being on the play, I think helps a lot, and then also the mulligan certainly doesn't help Tom for anything. So,
Yeah.
I think Ron's favored from this position. But I guess like a lot of game two, I mean, even though Tom was interacting like every turn, like countering spells, I it felt like Ron was ahead like a lot of that time. Like even when the Psychatog came down, I still felt like Ron was in pretty good shape. But so things do turn around pretty quickly with the Psychatog deck.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. One on the bottom for Tom. Ron's got his first land. He's going to drop there. Where's the Saga Swamp? There's the ritual. Seems good.
All right.
3 Carnophages.
This is first appearance for Dothy Horror, and then Sarcomancy. So yeah, this is
The Dothy Horror. The horror.
a great start from Ron. And Tom has turn 1 Portent. So yeah, Gabe does not approve of Ron's Urza Saga Dark Ritual art. But I'm a fan. I like that one. What is your favorite? I think my favorite is, I guess if I owned black bordered rituals, I don't know if that's the art. Like that's more of like the card. I guess I like the Mirage art. Do you have a favorite art for?
I mean, I like the old school one on a black border, but I probably play with the Mirage one most often, honestly.
I like a
I
lot
think
of.
the 5th edition one is pretty sweet, but I don't like the white border.
That's true. I like a lot of the Mirage art.
Yeah, Mirage one's probably my favorite. But as you and many others know, I have a soft spot in my heart for Mirage. I love that set so much.
All right, so Tom takes a clean 4, and then we do see a duress. So
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see like what cards Ron took out.
Oh, there's a smother.
Okay, well, I kind of talked about how duress wasn't good because you're not going to be able to find the reactive cards that much, but here we see the instance of finding that smother. So
don't listen to us, folks.
Yep.
We don't know what we're talking about here.
And Carnophage joins the party. So yeah, this is just a really good spot where Ron's got 6 power on the board. He'll pay a life so he can attack first 6.
Yeah. So Ron's a 19. Tom's a 16, and here comes 246.
Yeah. There is no swamp. Oh, no swamp out of Tom is what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Yeah, but Ron still did respect the smother. I guess like when you have the board position, you want the card that reacts to the board because you're pretty much winning, I guess. He can sit with counter spells all day, and you'll just be able to attack him for 6.
So Ron's at 18. Another 7. Plus, there's going to be 2 more from the scroll here. If it's a land, he'll scroll now.
Yeah, so Curse Scroll is just like another card where it's difficult to answer once it comes
I'm
resolved.
scooping him up.
And yeah,
that's the game, folks.
yeah,
Okay.
a pretty textbook game again from Ron. Oh yeah,
That's a fair point.
I'm confused how Ron tracks his life. The dice over his face represents the opponent's life. But yeah.
Oh man, I love that. I'm gonna unmute him.
All right, I'll jump in so we can listen into the players.
I've got you guys unmuted.
All right, I do as well. All right, well, the games that Ron was able to just start off with a Dark Ritual was pretty impressive. There were snuff outs, so that was a card that I guess we weren't sure what you were boarding out, Ron, but I forgot about snuff out. So
yeah, snuff out's a dead card in this matchup.
yeah. So can we Can we talk
I didn't
about
look at.
bannings in terms of when we were at? Do we want to talk about kind of what you guys were thinking on what decks you picked for bannings?
Yeah, I banned the Devourer. Um, if it's just a head-to-head matchup with our two combo decks, I think that he's about half a turn faster consistently. So, and I didn't have a whole lot of hate for it, other than the Suicide Black deck with the duresses and the engineered plagues in the sideboard. So I kind of wanted to avoid that matchup. I didn't. I thought that my only deck that lined up well against Devourer was the Oath Prism, and I kind of had a feeling that he was going to ban that. So that's why I banned his Devourer.
Tom, what was your thought process for the bans?
So Prison Oath is like one of those decks I just didn't want to play against. The times I
fair.
played against
It's
it, it's
fair.
like, yeah, it's miserable. So yeah, I also felt like it would be in an instance where like Goblins would have a really rough matchup there. So if I didn't ban the Oath, he's not going to ban Goblins for sure. But again, just it's very annoying to play against with like the Oath and Spheres and stuff. Um, yeah, so that was that's why I was hedging to get rid of that deck.
Okay. So at that point, like Ron, did you anticipate him picking Psychatog, or did you think he was going to be on Goblins, or did you not think it really mattered? How did you go with your deck choice?
Well, looking at the matchups, I do not like the Goblins versus Replenish matchup because the 4 Wastelands are pretty tough for me, and I mean he can just race me unless I get lucky with the turn 3 win. Goblins can pretty consistently win by turn 4, so I didn't feel confident in the Replenish versus Goblins matchup. But I felt decent with Suicide Black with the 4 Engineered Plagues in the sideboard.
Okay.
So I felt that Suicide Black was my better deck against his 2 remaining decks.
And what was your thought process, Tom?
Hey, so I really wanted to play Psychatog. I was worried if I played Goblins, he was going to be on Replenish, but then I also worried if I play Psychatog, he's going to be on Suicide Black. I felt like I was in trouble either way. I was talking to a few of my friends about it. I was like, both of these matchups are going to be really tough. I just felt more comfortable playing Psychatog.
Okay.
But I did not want to see, like, I knew I couldn't beat a turn 1 Dark Ritual. And then it turned out I lost to game 1 and 3 on that play. Like, I
Yeah.
just knew I could not beat a turn 1 Dark Ritual, especially if I'm on that draw. And I feel like it played out exactly how I saw that going. Like, if there's Dark Ritual in the play, it's probably over.
Yeah, it's hard the way your deck's set up, or most of the Psychatogs are set up. Is once a deck has a board presence, it's hard for them to catch up, and so yeah, like being
Yeah,
on the
definitely.
draw with then with Dark Ritual is really hard to come back from.
Yeah, Ron, you handed me my first loss. I've since like working on the 75, I've been 11-0 between Moto and the online tournaments. That was rough.
That's impressive.
Well,
That's impressive.
well,
Yeah, it's
Ron
impressive.
has not lost a Premodern Showdown Series Swiss match yet.
Damn,
That's
So
true.
that is. Yeah, he was talking
He's
about his
still
undefeated run
undefeated.
the first season. I was like, that's pretty sick, man.
Yeah.
he started off week 1 with a draw in the Premodern Showdown Series 1, and then he's won every other one. So
That's awesome. Ron, he played. I mean, he played really well. Like it was. Yeah, I just felt like I was on the back seat as soon as the Dark Ritual came out. It's like over.
Yeah.
One card I wish I had was Powder Keg, but I feel like it's a good card for Psychatog to
yeah.
have in the
So
sideboard possibly.
I was really looking for turn 1 Dark Ritual hands. My game 1, well, actually both game 1 and game 3, I kept 1 land hands with a Dark Ritual into 2 threats, and then I just ended up drawing more lands, so I got a little lucky there. But I think that even had I not drawn the more lands, just the turn 1 Dark Ritual into 2 threats is usually enough to get out in front of Psychatog enough.
Yeah, I agree. Because like it's my removal package is like horrible for like a mono black deck. So um,
Yeah, I saw those 2 vendettas in your list and started
you're like,
salivating.
hey, please draw them. It's funny enough. Game one, it was the card I mulliganed down. I was like, oh, that kind of works out.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. I mean, I guess when we talked about it in the pregame, we talked about like the importance of Dark Ritual. I guess this, and that I feel like that match kind of showcased kind of that theory, and it kind of played out how we thought. Um, it seemed like the Psychatog, once there's something like if there's pressure on the board, you're able to ever answer each threat after that, but you're just your life total is getting chipped away, and when especially when there's 2 threats right away, it's hard to come back from.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from the chat before we let these players go, and we'll get our other players set up?
Any questions, chat?
Let me check real quick to see if there's anything before that I missed. I guess I did miss a subscription earlier. We have from DYM Noakov. Thank you for the Prime subscription. What hair products? I assume that's going towards Flint, but that could be at Tom too. Maybe
Tom's
Ron
got
and
pretty
me.
great
I don't
hair.
know. But
I don't use hair products. I rarely
If I
shower.
If I could shave my head, I would, but my wife's a hairstylist, so I hate having to do anything with hair. But it is what it is.
We should get free haircuts, my man.
That you know how much money I'm saving? It's very
You just need to have your one kid be a barista and one kid be a plumber, and you just figure it all out, so you never really have to pay for services ever again.
yeah, just pay for my necessities, and well, I guess those are kind of necessities, but I can cut some in half.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
that's like the modern day solution of like a farmer just having lots of kids to help out on the farm. It's just like we'll send them into the trade so that they can do the things that we want. Someone asked, Tom, any changes to Tog in the foreseeable future?
Oh yeah, so I mentioned it. It's funny. I submitted my deck list, and then within 24 hours, I woke up out of my sleep. I was like, damn it, I should have put powder keg in it.
Okay.
I was expecting some aggro just because like of the breakdown of what the decks were going to look like. And like the aggro package is not working, but I'd probably definitely make room for powder keg and the infest. I actually had infest like in my first like run in with Psychatog. I'd probably definitely put 2 in the sideboard because I think that is like really good. Not just because it was like the suicide black matchup was good against elves, goblins, and like just the aggro matchups where like Psychatog is rough. Like I think you can get to turn 3 and then like kind of sweep the board, and then you can be in good shape because your cards are like so much more like stronger than the aggro ones.
Sure.
I definitely think that Infest is an underplayed card in the format, but there's not a whole lot of black control decks that would want it, so this would be the right spot for it.
Yeah, and there's one thing about like having it like at least having one copy in the Premodern Showdown series where the deck list is public, that if Ron's aware of it, it's kind of on his mind all the time, like when he plays on the board. So you might get a little bit of value just from having one in your sideboard, which a little more value than you would in like a typical closed deck list format.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you think goblins could have erased Ron's Dark Ritual draws? I guess that could be for any of us. I think possibly it depends on the goblin draw. Like if you're relying on Lackey to get through it, none of the lackeys would have connected, I don't think. But there are certain spots where like a war chief into like sharpshooter and a Mog Fanatic can do a pretty good job of clearing up a lot of the board. So I guess that's like a turn 4 play, and I think Ron had a pretty good. I don't know what turn you won on in that last game, but I don't know. Goblins might not have even fared that much differently, but so.
Yeah, I like my chances against goblins with Lackey doesn't line up real well against my 1-mana 2/2s, and that being able to put 2 threats on the board on turn 1 is a big advantage there. Plus getting to play snuff outs and 4 engineered plagues in the sideboard. Although Tom's list has the 4 Goblin Kings to fight the engineered plagues, so that would be something interesting to keep an eye on. Is his ability to fight through the plagues, where most other lists only have like 1 Goblin King.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
I liked my Suicide Black matchup against goblins just because of the 4 engineered plagues on the board.
Yeah, my thought process too was like I can't bring goblins to either one. Like Mike, like you said, you could race like you need like the lackey draw and then like probably into like ringleader and stuff like that to like push through replenish. But like again, it was open deck list too, so I was thinking Ron's gonna know I would have wasteland, so he can like play his basic lands kind of if he has them first to play around it, and then like wait to have the ancient tomb or whatever, and kind of go off. Like it would be like kind of like I'm just trying to beat him, and he's doing his own thing until he can combo off. I think if it was goblins versus replenish, I think replenish is favored, but yeah, and then again Suicide Black too. I think goblins are gonna have a rough one. Like I'm gonna turn 1 lackey, and you can drop a 2/2, and I just have like a mock fanatic to like I don't have any bolts or anything. I think it would have been rough, but I think replenish will beat goblins typically.
Okay.
It just really depends on the draw and stuff.
So yeah, you weren't happy with really either of, I guess, the decks that you had to bring.
I
so.
did not feel good.
All right.
Yeah, again, I know Ron's a good player, so it was gonna be rough times. I just felt more confident playing Psychatog, but it was, yeah, I was hoping you were gonna leave Devour, but like, damn, there's no way.
All right.
Awesome.
I think that leaves us with all we need for you guys for the night. So we want to thank you guys, and we will see you next week.
All right, good games,
thank
Tom.
you.
Good night,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Good games.
Take care.
See you.
All right, so let's go back to our schedule here. So where we're at right now is we're going to get our second match set up between Aaron and Jared. So we're going to take a break. I don't know where we're at, where the baseball game is at. I know Jared said he was at a friend's house watching the baseball game.
He's home.
Okay, so he is back. All right, so then I was going to say we might have a little bit of extended intermission if that were the case. Good thing it didn't go into overtime, so... all right, so I'm going to put things on a quick intermission. We're going to get things set up, but we will be back shortly to start our second match. All right, everybody, we are back from our break. We have Aaron and Jared. They're sitting down, they're shuffling up, they're getting stuff ready, and we're going to be talking about the decks that they have and what we can see in store for this next match. So if we go over to the ban screen, Aaron's 3 decks are Survival Elves, Sly, and Esper Stiflenought. And then Jared has Goblins, though he has a splash of green. And then Draco Blast, and then I believe it's a 5-color Terragun list is that Jared chose. So Jared has banned Aaron's Sly deck, and Aaron has banned Jared's Goblin deck. So the aggressive red decks will not be played tonight. What do you think is going to be played here, Flint?
I don't know. I was just thinking about that. I mean, Elves is such a good deck, but the Draco Blast is running main deck Masticores and Lavamancers. It has Terminates, has Plagues. It might actually be able to slow it down enough and drop a card like Plague in games 2 and 3 to where it could just win right on the spot with like an Insidious Dreams. Terrageddon is obviously a good deck. It has game against a lot of things. And it's been tuned, I believe, against Elves. On the other hand, the Esper Stiflenought, a lot of power there. Definitely hard for the Draco Blast game 1, but in game 2, I think it gets better because Jared's probably running overloads, right?
Yeah.
So I think these decks are actually going to match up in a really interactive way, and I'm not really sure what I would run if I were Aaron. I think based on raw power, it would be Elves, but I think he's got some uphill games ahead of him regardless.
Okay, well, let's go over the decks, and we see that Aaron is playing the Esper Stiflenought deck. So what this deck is trying to do is one key card of the combo is Phyrexian Dreadnought, a 1-mana 12/12 trampler. Just the drawback is when it comes into play, you need to sacrifice creatures' powers that total at least 12. Well, if you combine that with Stifle or Vision Charm, you can kind of get around that drawback, and then just have a 1-mana 12/12. What the deck is supplemented with is 4 Enlightened Tutors as the consistency card to get that Dreadnought, and then there's Disruption Elements, some light counter magic. Actually, Aaron has 4 Mana Leak, which I haven't seen in most Esper lists. He's cut the Portents and instead is playing more counter magic. So normally it's just 4 Dazes, which is pretty easy to play around in some senses. And then there's like the Meddling Mage as well as a disruptive element and duress. But more counter magic out of Aaron. So we'll see how that plays out. And Jared is bringing the Draco Blast deck. So you did talk about a number of removal cards. There's a couple Terminates and whatnot. Bolt is kind of not going to be that effective. I guess it could take out a Meddling Mage, but it's not going to do much against that Dreadnought. So it just looked from my experience with this matchup, I think the game 1 is a little bit of a struggle for the Draco Blast deck, just because you don't do too much to disrupt the Stiflenought deck, and you have a pretty hard time dealing with a resolved one. Jared does have 2 Terminates, which is more than I think some lists I've seen. Some just don't have any main deck removals to get rid of it. So I think, and then also like having 4 Mana Leaks actually makes Insidious Dreams a lot worse. Because I guess when I play the Draco Blast against this matchup, that's usually my plan, is maybe get a few chip shots in, and then hope that I can prevent a Dreadnought from killing me, and then resolve into Insidious Dreams, and then do the combo of Erratic Explosion and Draco. But with 4 extra Mana Leaks in the deck, that seems less likely to happen. So, all right, well, enough of. Oh, I guess I have key cards. We'll talk about that real quick. So Phyrexian Dreadnought, that's a key card on the Dreadnought deck. I know, it's very insightful, but it wants to be like, if it can get it down quick, it's pretty likely it's going to stay in play. Duress is great out of both decks. For the Esper Stiflenought to take out maybe like the few removal spells that might be in Jared's hand, or just to kind of know it's up. And then also it's good from Jared's perspective, as it's a way to interact. Hypnotic Spectre is good out of the Draco Blast deck, because if it's able to connect, the Draco deck can't really like set up a game plan, and if ever like loses one of the combo pieces and is continually hitting with the Hypnotic Spectre, it'll struggle. But that's not necessarily given to resolve a 3 mana spell. So, and then out of the sideboard, Overload is a really important card, and there's a lot of cards in the sideboard out of Jared that we'll talk about a little bit more. But the dynamic of the game really changes when the sideboards come into play. So we'll approach that a little bit later, but something to look out for. So we'll head down to the match. You can let the players know. Man, I did this again. I'll switch to the right screen. We are going to start. Let me flip around Jared's screen. Orientate him right. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So in terms of who plays first, Aaron won the die roll, and then it looks like Jared has mulligan to 6. Got that one card ready to go to the bottom when he hears that we can go. So I don't know if he's trying to play rock, paper, scissors, or he's just, I see his hand swinging. So did you shoot him a message?
I did.
Okay. All right, we got Gerard cheering for Jared. So
You want to do a quick poll?
Yeah, if I remember how to do this. All right.
It's been a minute, folks.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta go to my Twitch channel. Looks like the players they're just having a good time. They're not realizing that they can play Magic. They're just having a good time. So they're not realizing that they can sorry.
All right.
Probably a loop in there. To go to my.
All right. While you do that, I will take the reins for these opening turns here.
Okay.
So Aaron's leading with a polluted delta, and he's just going to pass.
I found it. I found the poll.
I found it. Lovely old swamp here from Jared. And thinking, let me see this here. Oh, a dark ritual. Okay.
The theme of tonight.
And a Jared Doucette specially modified black bordered 5th edition dark ritual. I should note.
All right, we'll start the poll. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that your name was pronounced Jared. I think I initially had said Jared, and then I saw that it was spelled differently, so I started saying Gerard, and now I got better at saying Gerard, and turns out it's wrong. So apologies.
My name is actually pronounced Batman. I know it looks weird on
Yeah.
paper, but you can just refer to me as Batman or the Batman if you'd like.
Is Batman the best superhero? I think that was one of
No,
the questions I asked the players.
Silver Surfer is actually my favorite.
I have no idea who that is. Am I supposed to know who that is?
No, you're too young. Kids these days. Silver Surfer, aka Norin Rad. He's my favorite. All right, so we do see a Dreadnought here and the Stifle Trigger. So Terminate aside, Jared has his hands full.
Yeah, so well, Jared did have his quick Hypnotic Spectre, which could be a powerful play, but it's no match for this 12-12.
Yep. So he's swinging in. Looks like Aaron's going to lose one. Jared's definitely going to crack that. So maybe we will see a Terminate here, and then it's a matter of whether or not Aaron has the days, if that is in fact the play.
Yeah, what if Jared does have the Terminate and he gets to hit the days out of his hand?
I know, right?
That'd
I mean,
be-
he almost cracked first, and then he thought about it and
yeah.
then attacked.
Well,
so-
I mean, like, judging by his body language, I feel like he might have it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking and wanted this game to go on longer. Okay, he's fetching a mountain. Oh, it's a Mesmeric Fiend. That's not a Terminate. So he sees a Mana Leak and a City of Brass, so he'll take a Mana Leak.
Yep.
And Jared pretty much has one turn, right? One turn to find Terminate. Are there any other cards? I don't think there's anything that'll do it.
Let me look. I have his list right here.
This is we've had some quick game ones on our opening night.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it because he's not in.
Yeah,
He's
so
not
I
going to
think
get another turn.
I think he's got 2 hours.
yeah.
Like it's hard for him to produce enough blockers, so kind of Terminate or bust. Would you ever, like, if he had the Terminate, would you ever just take a hit, knowing that, like, I mean, it's theoretically possible that he had it and he wanted to play around days,
Yeah, that's fair.
but given that his play is not, like, it's pretty easy if, let's see, so he's got 4 power, 4 toughness. Yeah, that's not enough. He still takes 8. Oh no, he doesn't have Mishra's Factory, so he can take 6. So he can live. So he has another draw then. But then he gets back the Mana Leak, so I don't think there is really a way. Yep, so Factory will get activated. He'll block with everything. This will go down to 1. And
He phased out the factory.
yeah,
Very nice. Okay, game 2.
that's
It gets more interesting here for sure with the overloads on Jared's side. I mean, what is Aaron? I guess you're gonna bring up the decks, but Aaron has Swords to Plowshares as well to stop some of Jared's early creature shenanigans too, which I think could be an important card. But let's take a look at the lists.
Yeah, so let's start with Jared's. I feel like that kind of changes more the narrative of what we're talking about. So Jared gets a lot more interaction. He's got 3 overloads and a red elemental blast and 2 pyroblasts. So those are good cards. 2 dystopia, those aren't effective. 4 negators. So I've played this matchup before, and I had the mindset of I need to be very proactive with getting a threat of Hypnotic Spectre and Phyrexian Negator, and then also have like the overloads and pyroblasts. And I took out the Insidious Dreams Erratic Explosion combo, thinking that I wouldn't have enough time to play it. And again, this was with the deck that didn't have Mana Leak. So I don't know if Jared will still have the same thought process, but the way the game's played out is the games went a lot longer than I expected. So there were a couple times that I'm like, oh, I wish I had the combo still in because then I'd have a way to just kind of win from this position. And then Engineered Plague is not a card that I would expect to come in. Are there cards that you think are underperforming in his main deck that he would take out? To me, the Masticore doesn't seem very good in this
Yeah.
matchup.
Yeah, I would take out the Masticore.
And Phyrexian Arena is kind of like a tricky. I guess like it kind of goes if you're taking out the combo that you're playing like a grindy game, kind of thing that you're like willing to go all disruptive and then just play a card advantage game. But okay, but basically there's two cards I know, two Massacres I want to take out, and then beyond that I'm not exactly sure. Like bolts aren't very great, but they do answer Meddling Mage. Maybe you like, but you also have Grim Lavamancer for that too. But that's also not super effective. I don't know. Maybe you trim some of the bolts and some of the Lavamancers.
I think it's a shave scenario, right? So maybe you take out one Arena, one Bolt, one Lavamancer. I think you leave all the Hypnotic Specters.
Are you leaving in the combo?
I think I would. I might take out one Insidious Dreams.
Are you bringing in Negators? Because if you are,
No.
that's you're not. Okay, so you're just bringing
don't
the six
think
red
so.
cards. Oh.
I mean, are they good? I mean, Aaron, what does Aaron have against a Negator? Let's take a look at his list.
I mean, like
He's got swords.
he's got a 12-12, but I feel like he's already done his thing. If
Yeah,
that's the point.
he's already winning at that point, I think.
Yeah, I do agree that post board Jared does have a lot more game.
Yeah.
Let's start looking at what Aaron's options are. So, 2 Annul. I don't think Draco's getting cast. I guess Phyrexian Arena, but I don't think that one's coming in. 2 Hydro Blasts. I would expect those. I could see the Mother of Runes coming in as a way to protect against overloads or terminates.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you do take out the combo and you just go all in on the overloads, the blasts, and negators, and then you ditch the dreams, the Draco, and some of the other cards, and you just get really sort of proactive in a lot of ways. In a way other than you take 16, I guess.
Yeah. So other cards from Aaron's sideboard. I guess I bring in the plows probably. I guess I'm not sure what cards you want to take out. Winter Orb you can probably take out. I don't know. That's the hard thing. That's the thing I didn't like about the blue white black list for Stiflenought is I feel like it's harder to sideboard. I don't know. It just
maybe you take out days on the draw.
Maybe.
So you take out your days. You bring in 3 swords and at least 1 mom. I don't know what the other card would be.
I
haven't played much of the Stiflenought decks myself.
I don't see the history of the poll, but I think when it came up, I think the majority said Aaron was going to win the match. I think part of it was biased because it was like a 3-minute timer, and by the time like the poll had ended, there was already a 12-12 in play. So
yeah,
maybe a little bit biased, but yeah, Jared's got to win 2 straight for him to take the match. So all right, let's jump back down. It looks like the players are pretty close to starting. Okay. So it looks like Aaron is mulliganing. So it's something that's pretty common with the Stiflenought decks that they mulligan aggressively and they do a good job of it. It is a little more concerning. Like game 1, it's not that bad because typically decks have less interaction and they don't know what they're playing against, that they won't keep a hand to like deal with a quick 12-12. But here it's the mulligan punishes you a lot more because there are so many interactive cards from Jared with the Pyroblasts and the Overloads and the Terminates, and those cards add up that like when you're going down to 6 or 5, once your combo is disrupted, it takes that much longer to kind of rebuild from the ground up. All right, so one card goes to the bottom for Aaron. Looks like he's keeping 6. And
Here we
Jared will
go.
start us off with a Sulphurous Spring, so he'll take a damage. Cast a Grim Lavamancer.
Lava Man. Meddling Mages for Aaron.
So talk about Grim Lavamancer in this deck. It's not quite as efficient as it is in the slide deck because so many of its cards are like permanents, Phyrexian Arenas or Mesmeric Fiends and Hypnotic Specters. Not all these cards are going to go to the graveyard immediately, so it takes a lot longer for the Grim Lavamancer to get the second activation. The first one usually is pretty free, and then like the second one takes a little bit of work to get. So we do see a Duress out of Aaron, and it's going to reveal an Overload, which gets taken, and then a Volrath Stronghold, a Swamp, and then 2 Hypnotic Specters. So the path is kind of clear from Aaron's perspective, but if he doesn't have that quick Dreadnought, the Hypnotic Specters might come down and really make it difficult for Aaron to kind of shape a game plan when he's getting a card knocked out of his hand at random every turn.
So if you're Aaron, do you just jam it right here if you have it?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would think so. So guess he doesn't have it.
Yeah. All right, so Lavamancer's coming in, and Hypnotic Spectre comes down. And so if this resolves, because Mana Leak or Daze, I guess would be the card that he'd interact. So yep, doesn't look like there's counter.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like there's counter magic. There's not white mana, so there's not like a plow. So I like Jared's position right here. We debating life totals.
Yeah, Aaron's at 17. So there's the Dreadnought a turn later.
Oh, okay. Well, I like Aaron's position. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Aaron just kind of says, "All right, there you go. You either drew it in the last couple of turns, or you draw it this, the next couple of turns." And
so I guess I wonder. It's possible that he had it, and he just has a card like Hydro Blast and just wants to play around. Well, we'll see here.
Terminate.
No, okay. So I'm guessing that he drew the other piece, but then Jared had drawn Terminate within the next 2 turns. So now we're kind of back to this position where I do like Jared's position again. And yeah, I think this is going to be difficult for Aaron unless he's immediately able to deploy the combo again. I think he's pretty much
done.
Yeah, I guess there's only one. Well, playing that card in his hand then.
He has access to white mana now as well. So if we brought in the swords, he potentially has a way to stop the card disadvantage here from Spectre. And I know I've said it before, but Premodern, one of the things I love about it is there's a deck where a card like Hypnotic Spectre, which is just so nostalgic, right, is actually very good.
Yeah, that was a bipolar 2 turns. It was very swingy. I like Jared's position a lot. If we had an advantage bar, it'd be swinging back and forth. So,
all right, Aaron's going to 6, cracking the fetch land, plains.
I think even if he has a Stiflenought here or a Dreadnought here, Jared's gonna play another Hypnotic Spectre, and then he can attack for 4 and then finish him off with a Lavamancer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Negator, so we do see the Negators have been brought in. So I was gonna say I don't know if I would reveal that to Aaron, but I don't think it like really matters. I don't think Aaron can really change that much, knowing that there's like a Negator coming out of the sideboard. But I guess it's pretty expected actually. But it was one of the things we weren't 100% sure on. But yeah, the Jared equalizes in a. I don't know if convincing is the right word because like Aaron easily could have taken that game because he had the Duress to take care of the Overload. I mean, Jared's hand was very good because it did have an answer to the Dreadnought. But with that Duress taking it out, Jared kind of had his shields down for a few turns. But luckily the Terminate was there for him.
I'll let him know that they can start game 3 whenever they're ready.
Okay. We'll just go back over to the deck list. I'm starting to yawn, so I tried to
Oh no.
at least I moved off screen. I don't know if I just say like that I yawn, does that has the same effect? Is it the same effect as actually yawning? Because yawns are contagious.
Mhm. I
But
don't know. I haven't seen the research on
I,
that.
I don't know
I
if
feel like it's probably not.
I don't know if I've talked about this story before, but one time we were just like sitting around at Christmas, and the game I played was I'm just going to pretend to yawn in front of my dog to see if I could get my dog to yawn, and it worked. It worked pretty well. So that we just had every person just sitting around in our living room, just pretending to yawn. And I mean, like, I guess it kind of chain reacts that everyone just starts yawning and yawning and yawning, and the dog would yawn. So if you're bored at your in-laws next time, maybe that's something
Yeah.
you can do, and you could think of me, and you could thank me later. I guess it made Jared yawn, so maybe it still has the same effect just talking about it. Oh, I got my
All
brother in
right.
the chat. He knows that story.
Nice. Looks like players are looking with their hands here, thinking about it.
All right, let's switch
Jared's
back
keeping.
over here.
Aaron's thinking.
So I guess game one, I definitely like the Stiflenought in this matchup, but the sideboard Jared's deck definitely does get better.
Oh yeah.
Do you think at this point, if we just have one game to play, do you think the Dreadnought deck is still favored? Well, I should have asked this. Oh, I was gonna say I should have asked this quicker before like a turn one Dreadnought comes down.
I mean, beyond the play, it's definitely in a better spot. But I think that the games are much closer with Aaron with Jared's sideboard. Sorry.
So that was a daze. It didn't pick up the Lotus Petal. It was sacrificed in so he actually hardcast the daze
Yep.
to counter the
19.
duress. So Jared's not sure exactly what Aaron's working with yet. But yeah,
Double duress.
in any of the post board games, if your opponent ever keeps 7, it's kind of like an uneasy feeling if you're like, well, I can't just run out this early Dreadnought. Like, why would my opponent have kept their 7 if
Yep.
they can't answer? I guess some of the cards like a duress might be like a proactive answer, but you just worry that you're going to spend 2 cards and then just have it overloaded or something. Okay, so we see an Enlightened Tutor to put a Dreadnought on top of the library, and then the duress resolves. Gets to take a stifle, but there still is a Limthal's Vault in his hand, so Aaron still is in a pretty good position after all this disruption. Because that Limdol's Vault, given a turn, he'll be able to cast it on a turn and pay a hefty amount of life to find either a Vision Charm or a Stifle. And he can even like be more aggressive and kind of like try and find a 5-card pile that he really likes as compared to just finding the first Stifle or Vision Charm, because he's not really under a lot of pressure for his life.
He is now. So now what's he going to do? Get a 5-card pile with hopefully a Swords to Plowshares on top, and then maybe another Swords to Plowshares, and then maybe a, if he's really lucky, and then maybe a Stifle or a Vision Charm.
Yeah, I think he pretty much needs to find a swords, assuming that he has it in, or a way to answer the Hypnotic Spectre. I guess you could just you could just say, I hope you don't have a way to remove it, and just put the combo out. I guess you don't could be, because you have one turn.
It just feels so bad with Jared having 3 unknowns still in hand.
Yeah, it's kind of an uneasy feeling that, but I mean, is waiting around, like if you plow the Hypnotic Spectre and he still has a card like Overload, like you have to imagine he doesn't have Red Elemental Blast. I think, I mean,
Odds don't
maybe,
get better as the game go on.
yeah, like kind of what position are you kind of looking to set up? Like each turn you get for Jared, I think kind of helps him more, I would say. So Vision Charm is used. I don't did
He didn't pay any life. I think the first 5-card
Okay.
hand he looked at had what he wanted.
That's what I was trying to figure out. So, all right. Well, we're attacking for 3. This Hypnotic Spectre doesn't have any cards to hit, so
Oh Negator. All right, it's getting interesting. Jared in chat says LDV is such a badass card. Agreed. I actually just read the Dark and Ice Age books, the Magic the Gathering books, and Limdul is a character in those. It's pretty awesome.
Is Limdol like a human, or is he some
The
other?
Rancer.
Okay. I guess I have seen. I think he was actually in Time Spiral. I can imagine the card. It's like his face. I can. Oh well, there's an overload. All right.
This game is probably over now.
Probably should talk about more pressing things other than what Limdol is, but overload is one of those things. Yes, a clean answer to the 12-12, and just what Jared needed. And he's got the pressure, and with a Hypnotic Spectre, and he can't really do anything. So, looks like our biased poll was wrong, and Jared was able to take out the win. We do see the sideboarding of 3 Meddling Mage going out, along with the Winter Orb. Let's switch over and see if we can listen to the players talking about what they did.
It's better removal and destruction. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Oh yeah, I should unmute these guys.
Well, good job, Jared. Congratulations.
Fast and Furious.
So the I set up like a poll of who do you want to win, and like by the time it closed, Aaron already had like a 12-12 in play. So I don't know like what the percentage was, but I do remember seeing that. I think the majority was for Aaron, but I'm like, this is kind of probably a biased poll given that you already have a 12-12 in play. But
probably.
There were some that second game was really wild. It was we were talking about if there was an advantage bar, it would have gone back and forth because of like the duress that took the overload, and then the dreadnought came down, and then the terminate was able to come off the top for Jared within the next 2 turns.
Yeah, that was definitely a good top deck.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna deny that.
I was feeling super safe having gotten the first overload, and then I had to play a little bit aggressively because he played the hippie. I didn't want things to sit in my hand. So even though I hadn't gotten a chance to play the Meddling Mage to name any removal yet, or have a counter backup, I had to play it when I did.
Yeah, Hypnotic Spectre is like one of those cards that if it's in play for the Dreadnought deck, because if you ever get down to like 1 card, you can never really assemble the 2-card combination with the Hypnotic Spectre in play. You have to remove it first and then find the 2 cards, so it can be pretty difficult.
Yeah, there's just so much removal in that deck.
It's much better after boarding.
The Sox won. Sox won 62. Going on the ALDS.
I always thought it was funny. Quick baseball side is they play like 160 games, and they're like, all right, the wild card slot just comes down to a 1-game series.
Dude, start off the playoffs with a game 7. I'm fine with it. Let's get weird.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right, I'm gonna jump over to the ban screens. You guys want to talk about like your thought process was for how you picked the deck to ban?
Absolutely. I think that was I spent a good amount on this decision. So if you don't mind, I'll go first. So basically, what it came down to is that I was trying to figure out which of my decks had, I think, good games against both 2 other decks. So I thought Draco was the deck that I could play against Elves and felt pretty good against Dreadnought because especially because I have some disruption, I have like some hard removal, especially post board, that I was going to be able to win those games. And the slide matchup for Draco was just awful. So I definitely didn't want to face that. So I was like, okay, so I made like myself a little matrix. I was like, okay, I feel positive with Draco against Elves because I can just draw the combo and win. And I have tons of removal. I feel decent enough against Dreadnought that I was going to be like, those are 2 positives, and a huge negative against Sly. And then I felt like Goblins versus Elves would have been a great matchup. Goblins versus Stiflenought would have been a blowout in the Dreadnought favor. And then against Sly, it's kind of closer. But like and then finally Terragain, I figure it was like a 50-50 deck across the board. Like it's pretty much like going to be fine against for the most part, all of them, especially after board. I think I had some decent stuff. So I was just like, I think I'm most advantage if I can get him to not ban Draco and then still like be okay playing Goblins or Terrageddon most likely in the other two matchups, and at least give me 50-50s against those other ones. So I figured if I got rid of Sly, that was my worst of the matchups. And then I had it, and the Draco deck had the best chance against two matchups. So I was like, I want to see if he leaves me that, and then I'm going to play that. That's kind of how I was thinking.
All right, what was your thought process, Aaron?
I was hungover in a hotel room at early yesterday morning. I had snap picked a deck that I wasn't thinking. I was originally thinking banning Draco, just because for any deck you can. It's the same thing as Dreadnought. You can auto lose. Just there's a one card combo that just wins you the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a problem for anything on the chance that it can do that whenever. So I had planned out I was going to get rid of that one, and I just said, you know what, Jared has played a lot more Goblins. I know he's played a lot of Draco recently, but just banned the better deck that he's more familiar with. So that was, you know,
I think that's a reasonable, I think, thought process of just going. I mean, there is a big factor of when you're comfortable with a deck, they're going to play it to their higher percentages. So just get rid of the deck that they're comfortable with.
Right.
Yeah, and same thing with Aaron. Like he's played Sly a ton and been doing very well with it. You know what I mean? So like I was kind of doing double work. It took away what I thought was probably the worst matchup I had, and also his thing that he's most comfortable with. I knew he was going to be fine with the other two decks. I'm not too worried about him, you know, as a player. But at the same time, I was just like, okay, I know he's the best with this because he's, you know, I put up good results with it. But yeah, I think that, like, you know, kind of I got a little lucky with some top decks there, but especially game 2 and 3. But you know, I kind of think it kind of went how I thought. If I think my game 1, you know, game 1, I had a chance to play that Mesmeric Fiend on turn 1, and probably should have in hindsight because he kept the 6, and I was like, maybe he's gonna pick a slower hand, but I should have just on the draw. I should have just fired it off, but you know. Hypnotic Spectre, when that's hitting on turn 1, especially on the play against like a Dreadnought deck, is trying to assemble a combo. It's pretty disruptive. So I probably made a mistake there. I probably should have just played the Mesmeric Fiend and not been as mana efficient, but or aggressive, and just disrupted his combo from the beginning. Because I think I win at most longer games of in that matchup.
Jared, how did you sideboard? We looked at a number of cards that we wanted to come in, but we weren't sure exactly how many cards come out.
It was actually a 10-card sideboard. I figured but like a lot of them were just like basic.
Of course
upgrades.
it was.
It was like it was obviously the 3 overloads and the 3 pyroblast and 3 blasts.
Mm-hmm.
Those were easy come-ins. And then it was the question of, is Arena good enough? Because I want to close. I don't want to really go that long against him. So like I changed out the arenas for the negators as well. So I first take out the Master Course, which again are too slow, and they're really not really built for this matchup, right? And then I took out the Lightning Bolts because he has the mages for sure, which would, but like I left in I could have probably taken out those with the Lavamancers. I just, you know, I fear the Lavamancers would have killed the Metal Mage if that was in the way also, and they're repeatable and they're get down and don't just sit in my hand, and I could play them out like proactively. And so I was figuring, and then the negators obviously can close the game much quicker. If I happen to turn that out game 1, he has a slow start, they can kind of rumble in and do a bunch of damage as well.
So were you worried because the main difference that Aaron has about his Stiflenought list is he has 4 mana leaks? Were you worried about Insidious Dreams like into a mana leak, or
not really?
Okay.
I mean, if it's getting to that point where I have a chance to Insidious Dreams and win, then I probably, you know, have either a Reb or a Pyroblast, or, you know, duress away his hand that, you know, I probably have a good idea of what's in there. You know, if it's becoming turn 4. If it's becoming turn 4 and he hasn't comboed yet, and, you know, then I could probably just wait or play around it, you know, to some degree. Or just, you know, wait till I have the disruption as well.
Well, it's so funny because you've got so much disruption. I really can't wait to combo against you.
Exactly.
You just rip my hand apart if I don't.
Right. So it's interesting. Yeah, I think it's like I think it's an interesting matchup. I played it just not too long ago against Mike Harris when he was playing more like the green version, and it came down to just Overload being so damn efficient, and Pyroblast and Red being so good at disrupting, the combo part of the Dreadnought, that those can usually win the game. But yeah.
The people want to know, Aaron, are you a cyborg?
I was wondering
Are the
what
rumors true?
prompted that. That's a rumor. Did I miss something?
Maybe it's just your headset, or I don't
Okay,
know.
got it.
Or you're just calm composure, that you just even keel. I don't know. Emotionless. I don't know.
Yeah, that's me. They got me. They figured me out.
You're the one cyborg on the planet, and you just enjoy your time playing some Premodern.
It's fine.
I don't know. Andrew Walker might be one too, because that guy doesn't sleep. So he's
Yeah.
just kind of up all night.
That's totally fair.
I was working an overnight shift, and at 4:30 in the morning, I saw anyone up for games. I'm like, "What are you doing, dude? Go to bed." I'm working. Like, I'm supposed to be up. You go back to bed.
He hit me the second my plane landed yesterday.
I saw that.
But middle of the night, just
My favorite Andrew Walker story was I was up super late. I'm on the the West Coast, and it was probably like 2 a.m. and I'm playing Antonio, the mud player in the monthlies in I think our
Italian, right?
semifinal. Yeah, Italian player in our semifinal match or final match, and we're in the room playing, and it's getting late. And all of a sudden, Andrew Walker just joins our whereby room. It's like, hey guys, what's going on? It's like 5 a.m. there, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, did you sleep at all tonight? And so
no.
chatted with him for a while, and he watched the matches, and it was just, of course, if anyone's going to jump in at like 2 a.m. my time, it's going to be Andrew.
Checks out.
I haven't watched the previous match yet, so no spoilers. I'm gonna go back and watch the VOD. So
All right.
looking forward to watching that one.
Cool.
Anything else you guys want to add, or any other questions from chat before we wrap up?
I just want to say I'm really excited for this event. I'm just super stoked to be part of it again. I think it's really fun, and it's just I'm so stoked to be playing Premodern any chance I get right now, just because it's such a blast.
Mhm.
So I'm just really excited to kind of help continue with helping the community and everything, and just building this, and I just have a blast doing it.
Yeah.
Such a blast, said by the Draco Blast player. The Hydro Blasts and the erratic explosions, or the Pyroblasts and the Red Elemental Blasts, and yeah.
It was a blast-heavy match.
Don't even need them to always win the game, They can just win the game the other ways too. So cool.
Very true. We're happy to have you, and you as well, Aaron,
Absolutely.
along with the rest of the players. So we're excited to see how this plays out. We got a lot of good players and a lot of great decks.
Great.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you next
Later,
week.
guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, so I'll bring up our schedule. We can look forward to what we have in store for Thursday. That'll be our next stream. We're going to be, again, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, but our first match is between John Gruncina and Ben Pelziger. And then our late night match will be Brian Durkin against James Smith. So it'll be exciting to see those remaining 4 players. And these are all new Premodern players. I guess today we had 3 returning players and 1 newcomer. So Tom was the first time that he's played in the Premodern Showdown series, but Ron was in season 1, as was Jared, and then Aaron won season 2. So those were all our returning players, and then fresh 4 new players for our next episode. Is there anything you want to add, Flint?
I think the only thing that I would add is just a big thank you to all of the viewers for tuning in, folks for subscribing. Of course, thanking CardSphere for the sponsorship, and definitely want to plug all of the other great Premodern opportunities online. So join the online Premodern monthly group, join just the Premodern group as well. Check out the Premodcast podcast that Jared does along with Andrew Walker and Mike Harris. Tune into 90s MTG and check out some Premodern content every once in a while over there as well. All Things Considered, Brian Menelakos' podcast will cover Premodern as well as old school. So there's a growing number of opportunities for you to learn more about the format if you're new to it or if you've been in it for a while. So I would just encourage everyone to check those out.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about CardSphere. They are sponsoring us this season. But if you're not familiar with the service, it's a platform that you can use to trade trade, buy, sell Magic the Gathering cards. And the way it works is it can be, I don't know what the correct terminology is, but instead of the typical way of if I sit down at a local gaming store, I might look at Flint's binder and only have the availability of the cards that he wants or he has, and I don't want anything. But Flint opens up my binder and I have a great collection, and he wants so many things of mine. Well, with a service kind of like this, if Flint has enough credit or credit on the site, he's able to like get the card, and then I would just ship it. So if someone wants a card of mine, I can ship it to the person. The points are removed from the system until the card gets delivered and then confirmed, and then the points go to the seller. And so it doesn't need to be a trade that is like 1-to-1. So I can make like a one-way trade and then use those points or credits towards another trade from a different person. And so okay, so yeah, I say points, but they are backed by actual cash. So that was another feature is the economy is stable in that sense, is because it is using the dollar as a currency. You can cash out your I don't know, your credit at a certain rate, but yeah, it's not like a made up currency that can be distorted or inflated. So yeah, you're balanced. So Ron is someone who's been using the service, I know, the longest. So if you have any questions, you can probably direct them at Ron, and he'll probably have a better idea for anything. But I recommend you check out CardSphere if you're interested. It's always nice to have cards that you're not really utilizing and turn them into cards that you do want. So if you're getting into pre-modern and you're trying to flesh out a deck, that's a good way to do it. So we want to thank CardSphere. But other than that, yeah, I'll just echo some of the things that Flint said. I do want to thank the everyone who was able to tune in, and then I guess all the European crowd who's watching the VODs or the stuff on video or on YouTube. Thanks for the support there, all the follows and the subscribers that we had. Really appreciate it. I'm excited to jump back in the Premodern Showdown series, and I'm looking forward for some exciting clashes between big names and powerful decks. So I'll leave that. Are there any closing words, Flint?
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. And then until next time, take care.
Night, everybody.